I'm Amy Zucker Morgenstern. My pronouns are they or she, and you are very welcome here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. Did I go out? You still hearing me? All right. We gather here, our different paths entwined to deepen our spiritual lives, nourishing connection, learning from each other, caring for each other, tending to our world. You know, I wasn't going to read this line because I don't feel like it needs to be said every time, but Brian said, you just don't see the word scooch that often. So, if you're on the aisles or there's just a sort of one space between each group, see if you can scooch over to make room for groups of 3 or more that tend to come in late because when you're getting children together to get out the door, and then people stand at the door looking for a place big enough. So, scooch a little. And then you get to use the word scooch. So, was that good? Okay. If you're here in person and have questions about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, do stop by the welcome table with the blue tablecloth and chat with a member of our membership team there after the service. They'd be happy to take your contact information so that you get our weekly update. And if you've been thinking about joining UUCPA, this is a great day to do that there too. What you see right now is people are bringing up little cards to have me read their joys or sorrows when we get to caring and sharing. You can always do that via Zoom. We put it in the Zoom chat or by these little cards that are right up here and also at the welcome table before the service. I want to give thanks to the family of Cecil Bridges that left these beautiful flowers from his celebration of life on Friday. I saw Diane and Stephen. I don't know if hi Diane and Stephen, and John, and their whole family was here to celebrate with us and say goodbye to a dear soul. So thank you so much for those. Please stay, whether you are a member or not, a newcomer, whatever, stay for our annual meeting at 12 p.m. right here. We serve lunch. Children will enjoy a movie in another room so that their parents can be in the meeting as long as they need to. You know, they say that no one who loves sausage or respects the law should ever watch either one being made. But for me, congregational meetings usually have the opposite effect. I leave them feeling this deep affection and admiration and gratitude for the people of the congregation and really appreciating the thoughtfulness with which we make our decisions. It really brings out the best in us. And so I'm not feeding you a line when I say it's worth just coming to the annual meeting. It's kind of like going to a second service to experience the spirit of this congregation in practice. It's a very important meeting with big spending questions on the line about our coming year, and your voice is needed and very welcome. Also, I have some great news to report in this regard. You may have seen that we had a match offered, $10,000 offered by Kay and Byron Brown if people match their $10,000 by the end of the meeting today, because we were facing a deficit otherwise in our budget. That has been met. Amazing. Deep thanks to Kay and Byron for that incredible generosity and the generosity of everybody who said, yes, I will pitch in more, a new pledge or increasing their pledge to do that. And we want to keep this momentum going to fully fund some things that are still otherwise going to be cut. We're not sure we can pay a cost of living adjustment for our staff, and that's really a minimum that we want to do every year. And there's other things that we want to do to make sure to just keep funding our programming up to the level that we already have. So stay tuned and please come and learn more. 2 great social events are happening this coming Saturday. I think they've been up there. At least one of them has been up there. You can be at both. Check them out in the order of service. There's a tie-dye party and a dance. They're at different times on Saturdays, so you can have a wonderful, full UUCPA day. And now it is my pleasure to welcome John Riemenschneider from our new Justice Partner.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Riemenschneider, and I am representing your community's justice partner for the month of April, the United Effort Organization. The United Effort is a women-founded, volunteer-driven nonprofit based in Mountain View, whose mission is to help people who are experiencing homeless or at risk of homelessness move towards self-sufficiency and find safe homes in our community. Every Wednesday and Saturday, we connect with people during the hot meal service at Hope's Corner in downtown Mountain View. We help clients identify and apply for benefits that they are eligible for, like Medi-Cal, food stamps, and transit passes. We help clients get access to items like eyeglasses and mobile phones. And most importantly, we help them discover what housing options are available for them based on their situation. We then help them navigate the application process, and we walk alongside them persistently until they are housed. In 2024, we helped 69 people find housing, which is something that we are very proud of. In addition to helping with those immediate needs, the United Effort also engages in longer-term work with our clients. Last October, we began piloting a self-sufficiency program to help clients identify and set SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound in one of 5 areas of self-sufficiency: family stability, well-being, financial management, education and training, and employment and career. One of our participants, who was living in a vehicle and working 3 part-time jobs, had no money saved. They created a plan to save $1,000 in 8 weeks, and they absolutely crushed it, saving more than twice that amount. Another participant is working on a goal to pay off a debt. Some are addressing mental health needs. Another is pursuing a GED to further their education. Not only are these clients experiencing the empowerment and fulfillment that accompany achieving goals, but they are also developing vital executive function skills along the journey. Your community's donation will directly support our efforts to scale our services and to continue to offer free, comprehensive, and integrated services to help our unhoused neighbors. There are also many diverse opportunities to volunteer with the United Effort as well, either on-site or from home, ranging from filling out housing and benefit applications, to setting up cell phones, to providing translation, to data entry and auditing, and much, much more. More information about those opportunities is available on our website, theunitedeffort.org, and I also would be happy to connect with you in the courtyard after the service to talk more about that as well. Thank you so much for the honor of being here today, and thank you for your support for the United Effort.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We're really glad to add you to our Justice Partners. That's something else we vote on today, by the way, is the Justice Partners for the coming year. So that's really important at our annual meeting. And we will be supporting United Effort with our offering today. And now, let us begin our service.
Good morning. I'm Ryan Weller, the worship assistant for the morning. And I just realized on the way here, if this is April 25, I joined the church 10 years ago this month.
Okay.
I remember it was 2015. It's now chalice lighting time. If you have a chalice at home, please light one. In here, you probably shouldn't. We'll use this one. These words come from one version of the Passover Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal, not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, the spirit of freedom. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from the 20th century astrophysicist, writer, and science educator, Carl Sagan. For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. As we follow the sound of this bell into silence, we allow ourselves to be here more fully. Oh, that was terrible.
There.
Me up on this colorful quilt. Today we hear a story about how a neighborhood transforms into a community. And perhaps you might find yourself or your neighbors in the story. So this story is called In the Neighborhood. Once upon a time, there we go. Hello. Once upon a time, there was a neighborhood with, like so many others, it had houses, street lights, neighbors who had never met each other. Now, Camilla, she lived at number 15, and there was always a lot of noise coming from her house. The neighbors figured that she was hard of hearing, and so she had to turn her volume way up on the TV. But the real reason there was all that noise was that Camilla had 10 babies who were 10 bundles of energy. Wow. Now, Camilla, she didn't dare to set up a conversation with her neighbor, Mr. Martinez, because he seemed so serious and so straight-laced. She was convinced he did not like kids and wouldn't want anything to do with her and her 10 kids. Mr. Martinez, he worked in the city, and he was an important lawyer just like his mother, grandfather, and great-grandfather before him. But get this. When Mr. Martinez came home from work, he changed completely. He had a secret hobby, juggling. Look at him go. Wow. If only I had an audience, Mr. Martinez sighed. His neighbors were a noisy hen and a huge dragon who didn't seem to have much of a sense of humor. But the truth was that there was no huge dragon living on the street. Mr. Martinez's little neighbor was actually a little mouse who lived in fear because a cat had moved in nearby. We all know what cats like to eat, right? Ooh. So, Philip the mouse, he was very creative and very clever. So he came up with a solution to keep his dangerous feline neighbor away. Oh, you see, he made himself a dragon. What Philip couldn't possibly imagine is that the cat across the street was a vegan. He never ate mice. Rodolfo the cat loved to play cards, he loved to knit pillows, and most of all, he loved to tenderly care about his vegetable garden. And Rodolfo was so shy that he wouldn't even wave to his neighbor. Would you risk annoying a fierce dragon? And so in the corner, there lived Matilda, and she was a brilliant scientist, and she worked all day in her garage on all these inventions. And Matilda, she only spoke to her robots because she had no one else to talk to. She figured no one lived next door. That house was always locked up tight. But someone did live there. It was just that Miss Paquita slept all day, like owls do, and then she spent all night on the internet, reading the news, playing solitaire. She was having a good old time. And she was having so much fun, she didn't even remember to raise her blinds. Now, Pepe the orc, he lived at the top of a beanstalk, and no one ever rang his bell, so he never left his house. He was convinced his neighbors were afraid of him because, orcs have such a bad reputation. So you see his beanstalk with the little bell ring. But, the truth is, he was a bookworm. He yearned to share his love of reading. He dreamt about organizing a book club for the neighborhood, or even better, two. One for books about traveling, and another for superhero books, which were his favorite kind. There he is. Then one fine day, something terrible happened. Miss Paquita's internet connection stopped working. Oh dear, this is horrible. Matilda was shocked to hear her neighbor. Someone did live next door. And since Matilda was very handy, she was able to solve Miss Paquita's problem in the blink of an eye. Oh, so they crawled all the way up to the top of the roof to fix the internet. Then, the next day, Miss Paquita, she realized that she needed one more egg for her cake recipe. So she rang her neighbor's doorbell for the first time ever. And Pepe, the orc, he was very, very pleased to see that she wasn't afraid of him. And so he ran down to have cake and tea. Camilla looked out her window and was surprised to see 3 neighbors eating cake together. That made her think she should try knocking on Mr. Martinez's door. And she found out he wasn't so straight-laced after all. And then Rodolfo the cat, he got a big surprise when he decided to put aside his fear and shyness and go visit his dragon neighbor for the first time. That's not a dragon at all. He's just a mouse with a dragon head. Soon, everyone knew each other and everyone became friends. The neighborhood was now something different. It was a community. And everyone was happier. So thank you for listening to my story today. We will have children's religious education, our Judean village, and coming of age after this song. So please rise now in body or spirit and join me in singing number 346. Come sing a song with me. And then if you're going to religious education, follow me out into the lobby after the song.
Oh
take a deep breath, each of us, and some moments of silence to hold everything we've heard. To just feel how our compassion and our worlds grow bigger in response to the joys and sorrows that others share. And we resolve to reach out in compassion or connection. Thanks, congratulations, to connect with one another. Blessed be. Sometimes one of the sorrows that weighs on our hearts when we come to this part of the service is one of our own actions or inactions, being that we are human. We are people of high ideals here, and that means we strive and we don't always reach them. So this is a time that we set aside now and then to notice those moments and just with compassion for ourselves, gently lead ourselves back to our ideals and how we want to be. Let us now in silence recommit ourselves to our best selves. In this striving, we have the help of companions on the path and shared values to guide us. This covenant has been crafted over generations of Unitarian Universalists. So let's rise in body or spirit and say it together. It'll be on your screen as well as in your online order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. And please remain standing if you're comfortable standing, and join in singing Hine Matov, which is number 392 in the gray hymnal. We're just going to sing the Hebrew. The words are on screen in transliteration and in the online order of service, as well as in your hymnal.
Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote these words in his essay on friendship. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. Despite all the selfishness that chills like east winds in the world, the whole human family is bathed with an element of love like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom yet we honor, and who honor us? How many we see in the street or sit with in church, whom, though silently, we warmly rejoice to be with? Read the language of these wondering eye beams. The heart knoweth. This is the hard part. This is a reflection. By the way, as the service goes along, and you want to learn more about the subject, there's a book here, Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. It is appropriate. It says, something is very wrong, Gladwell argues, with the tools and strategies we use now to make sense of people we don't know. And because we don't know how to talk to strangers, we're inviting conflict and misunderstanding in ways that have a profound effect on our lives and on the world. He refers to Montezuma and Cortez. He refers to Chamberlain and Hitler. He refers even to Bernie Madoff. It's quite a book. Amy may have asked me to be a part of this service because I have a tendency to talk to strangers. My theme in my later years is that of curiosity. So it's easy for me, if I see someone that I haven't met or know rarely, to open up. Sometimes at a table at Pete's, sometimes it's a bar stool, or sometimes sitting here, like back where Joe Bailey is, just waiting for someone to sit down that I hadn't met before. And it only takes a couple words. Usually they're well received, very little animosity. And my tendency is just to ask a simple question. And generally I get a simple answer, but it awakens something between the two of us that hadn't been there before. And to me, that's sort of a win for the moment, just a tiny little victory for the day, because we're suddenly connected. This practice is not for entertainment or for self-aggrandization, my favorite new word. That's not easy. But to make a brief but genuine connection. Often there's a smile, a positive response coming back to me, and we can continue at the coffee hour or at the end of coffee. If I've attacked you personally with my questions or sitting next to you bothering you, remember that I've complimented you, maybe for your sweater or necklace or your shiny shoes, and maybe ask if it's your first time here. I've had a few times when that's been true, and I learned that I was the first person to address that person, having been sitting here for 20 minutes. It's easy to do. It's fun to do, and I recommend it. It can actually be rewarding.
Wow. From John's sharing about United Effort to vegan cat neighbors to the underdog, thank you all for making this service come together so beautifully. I want to dedicate this sermon to two inveterate talkers with strangers in my family. My wife and daughter just tend to strike these conversations up, and enjoying partaking of the benefits of that and watching how they do it has taught me a lot. You know, scientists have discovered this amazing drug that has no troubling side effects. It's been practiced for years, used for years. So you'd think they would have shown up by now, so that's a good sign. It makes the user feel happy for hours, but it doesn't impair driving or erode their judgment. It doesn't cause water retention, weight gain, insomnia, or depression. Quite the opposite. It's very good for physical and mental health. It even has a good effect on the people around them, lessening social ills from loneliness to political extremism. It isn't covered by any healthcare plan anywhere, but that's okay because it's free. It is called Talking with Strangers. Talk with strangers, and you will hear people say, "You made my day." You might embarrass your family, but only because they haven't worked up the nerve to do it themselves yet. There are reports from people who use this free drug of greater feelings of connection and well-being and happiness. So I wanted to do a kind of how-to, but let's just dive into some of the reasons that it's hard sometimes to talk to strangers, some of the barriers, so we can figure out how to deal with them. One of them is just awkwardness. What if they don't want to engage? There's nothing more embarrassing than making a friendly overture to somebody and having it fall flat. Well, there's a few solutions to this. One is just to know that that very rarely happens. People have researched this in 12 related experiments with more than 1,800 participants. Experimenter Nicholas Epley, who's a professor of behavioral science at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, learned that people way overestimate the awkwardness that they're going to have. And a lot of what he studied was the difference between shallow and deeper conversations. Some of the experiments gave people different kinds of topics to talk about with strangers. Sometimes people generated their own that they considered sort of everyday. How's the weather? How about those Mets, and deeper conversations, right down to if a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, your future, or anything else, what would you want to know? I'm not suggesting that you spring that on the person at the bus stop who you've never seen before, but you might work your way up there. Most people underestimate the degree to which other people are interested in hearing about their personal and deeper thoughts. And Epley knows this because he's experimented and asked people, how did that feel when people asked you these questions or told you these things about themselves? And they were really, really positive. He says, people seem to imagine that revealing something meaningful or important about themselves in conversation would be met with blank stares and silence, only to find this wasn't true. Human beings are deeply social and tend to reciprocate in conversation. If you share something meaningful and important, you're likely to get something meaningful and important exchanged in return, leading to a considerably better conversation. And this is the kind of thing that makes you feel happy for hours after all. Overall, they found that both deep and shallow conversations were less awkward and led to greater feelings of connectedness and enjoyment than people predicted they would before they had the conversations. But the effect is strongest with deep conversations. Another way to forestall your own awkwardness, I find, is just to have an exit strategy. Because I think a lot of the time we're just thinking, well, then what will happen? We know with a close friend, we're going to talk on the phone for a while. And we're going to say, well, got to make dinner. And they'll say, yeah, love you. And you'll say, love you too. Very graceful. How are you going to do that with somebody you've never talked to before? So it's good to have a couple things in your pocket. There's always just smiling and returning to your own thing. You talk to the taxi driver for a little while, and then the conversation seems to peter out, and, you just stare off into space. If you're sitting on a train or a plane, you were in a waiting room, you got a book, you've got a conversation with the friend that you came with. Hate to say, you've always got whatever screen you've got in your pocket. And those will all be just a way of signaling, okay, we're done with this conversation. That's totally fine. I think a related barrier to these conversations for many of us is the fear of getting in for more than we want. For example, a long plane ride. If you pass somebody on the street and you say, ooh, nice hat, right? There's not going to be any interaction at all. They're going to say, thanks. Okay, great. That's wonderful. That's great. It's not really a conversation because you're going opposite ways and that's not going to happen. And say you're on a bus or a commuter train or something like that, you're probably going to escape this conversation in the next 20 minutes, whatever happens, which, you may regret if it's going well, but at least in the back of your mind, it's not going to go badly. I think plane rides are one of the places we dread most. I'm going to be sitting next to this person for the next 6 hours. What if we don't enjoy this conversation? So again, knowing how you'll gracefully end it. Well, I better try to get some sleep. Or, whatever you were going to do. Just open your book or start your movie. It's fine. I had a recent experience with this, actually a really lovely conversation on the plane with a woman who she kind of started chatting, lowering the barrier right there. I wasn't going to start off right away and tell her I had been in Tucson for a family memorial. That felt pretty heavy. But actually, in the course of a few minutes, she told me something about her care for her sister who had recently lost a spouse. So this felt like the moment to say not just that I had been in Tucson to visit family, but that I'd been there for a memorial service. And so the conversation kind of went deeper and deeper. Just the same, I was nervous after we said goodbye on the plane. Oh God, now I'm gonna run into her at like the bathroom or the coffee shop or baggage claim, and it's gonna be so awkward because we kind of ended it and didn't. But I practiced. So we did meet coming out of the ladies' room. And, you've just been on a flight, right? So just smiled, and she smiled too. We both said, hey, we meet again, right? Passed each other in the hall, same thing. Just a smile and a wave that time. And it was kind of cool because I felt like all of a sudden I had a friend at SFO, which is not usually the feeling. I think another barrier we have is a fear of bothering people, right? So, again, it's good to just know a couple of signs. If this is new to us, we are here in Silicon Valley. Here's a primer. If someone's reading or they're kind of seat dancing to whatever's on their earbuds, don't interrupt them. I mean, you can interrupt them if it's urgent, like, can you just tell me if this is the bus to so-and-so? Okay, but you're not going to start up a conversation with them. Understood. But if they put a finger in their book and pause for a moment, that's a good moment to say, I've heard of that book. Do you recommend it? Conversation is underway. If a fairly deep one, possibly. If they say a couple of words or sentences and then smile and open their book again, say thanks and leave them to whatever they're doing. They've given one of our culture's signals for, I want to be undisturbed. Putting their earbuds back in, same thing. Okay, that's fine. And also, if you're worried about bothering people, this is a good lesson that I've learned traveling to other countries. Always speak an intro. Like, in my experience, like in Mexico or in France, you wouldn't walk up to a clerk in a store and just say, hey, I'm looking for it. You always say hello. And so there's that little sense of like just an introduction. Hi, or excuse me, before you break in. Really, very, very few people will take this amiss. And speaking of cultures, different nationalities, different ethnicities, even different ages, generations may have different levels of comfort with talking to a stranger. I had the lovely experience of, I don't think anybody would be offended by this, but when I was last in Mexico, I was in a museum and there was a couple clearly getting their wedding pictures taken. It was just the two of them, but there was a professional photographer and they were dressed to the nines, and one of them had flowers and so on. So I don't think there's any place in the world that would not people would not welcome a congratulations in that situation, but this led to a little bit more of a connection. I said, felicidades, and, the bride waved and said, oh, thank you so much, and, we had a brief exchange, which maybe would not have happened elsewhere. But, I was 99% sure I'd get a very warm response, and I did. Okay, so you've set aside your fears, you thought, I'm really going to do this thing. How do you do it? How do you start conversations with strangers? You might have noticed, there are different kinds of gatherings of strangers. There's a collection of random people, and then there's people who have something in common. So if you're just in line at the store, you feel pretty random. If you're in line for concert tickets, do people do that anymore? When I was a kid, it was, you get up way early or sleep out to get concert tickets. Anyway, or people who come to church, right? They have something in common. You're sitting there with a total stranger, but you already know you have something in common. So you can say, hey, what brought you here today? What grabbed your interest? Or you're standing in line. Hey, have you ever seen Ed Sheeran in concert before? Oh, and then you're having a conversation, right? So that already lowers the barrier. And then there's things that can just happen to make that kind of thing occur. Like if you are all on a train, that's just strangers all in one place. If the train comes to a stop and you get an announcement that it might not go anywhere for a couple hours, all of a sudden you're sharing an experience. Like you've already bonded. And now the person next to you might still think, fine, I'm going to nap. I don't want to talk to anybody. This is my nightmare, an extra 2 hours with total strangers. Then leave them alone. But somebody might say something like, oh my God, I might miss my job interview. congratulations, you have a conversation going. Not congratulations to them. I hope it goes okay. But you can talk about that. One of the things that I learned from one of the experts in my family is a really good way to get from just stranger, meaningless exchange to real conversation is when somebody says, "How are you?" actually answer. Right? Now, again, we have that sort of passing "how are you?" It's in our culture, very strange to people who come to this country and don't know this already, that "how are you?" doesn't actually always mean a question. It's just a way we say hello and a friendly connection. But as long as the person is not like running because they're late for something, it's totally okay to answer the question. And also as long as you don't unload with your entire life story, right? But so there are lots of alternatives to just, "Okay, how are you?" Right? Like just saying, "Been better, how about you?" might, if they have the time and inclination, invite them to say, "Sorry you're having a bad day." Then you can take the next step. "Yeah, this is what happened. This is how conversations go." A little bit more. All of a sudden, you're really talking about something important. Likewise, when they really answer, if you have the time, see if you can pick up on what they said. The another tip I learned watching other folks do this is just simply taking things to the next level. Like, you get on the bus. I think a lot in terms of transportation. I guess I take a lot of transit, but you're in a waiting room. You're being driven in a taxi. You're sitting in the back row with somebody who's just checking out this church, and so they're sitting in a back row so they can make a quick escape, right? And they say hello, and you can just take it to the next level. Go a little deeper by just volunteering a little bit more than they did. Like they say, "Hey, nice day," and you're kind of panting, and you say, "Yeah, just came in on my bike," right? That already, boom, you're having a conversation. They can say, "Oh, do you bike here? I didn't know you could do that." And you can tell them a little bit about that. Or they can say, "Oh, I used to bike a lot. I haven't done it in a long time. I'm not sure why." And again, congratulations. You are having a conversation. You're going to leave that, even if it ends there, you're going to leave that conversation with a completely different feeling than if it was just, hi, how are you? Okay, you? Okay. Now, when you see those barriers go down, like somebody's volunteered something a little more, or, heaven forbid, the train is stuck, there's a couple things you can do. One is just notice. Notice when it happens. Notice that there's a bond and you have this moment. Oh, we have something in common. Let's go for that. And the other is you pick up on what you know you have in common. You're at a protest, okay, so you all have something in common. You tell somebody, if you really like their sign, you tell them, "I love your sign. That's really clever or funny," or "Where did you get that?" or whatever, right? And there you go. These are such simple yet powerful things we can do. It is no exaggeration to say, as Gladwell does, I mean, I don't know if Chamberlain and Hitler would have had a nice chat and things would have changed, but it is not an exaggeration to say that a lot of the mistrust and the creation of other people's stories in our own heads without actually checking or knowing creates the very serious problems we're facing today. And conversation is not going to turn it around just like that, but it is a preventative to that kind of demonizing that we may do. Like the next door neighbor's a cat, they're terrifying. Little did you know, they don't eat mice. And finally, no, not finally, I have two other things. One, giving compliments is always good. Try to teach children that's the only kind of personal remark you should ever make to a stranger is a compliment. Love that hat, love your dress. Not even maybe like, where did you get it? But then if they say, do you like it? I got it at a thrift store. Oh, let's have a conversation about thrift stores. But another thing that never goes wrong alongside compliments is advice. Ask advice, not give it. Ask for it. People love to give advice, and it can be very, very simple. You sit down here at church. Is the coffee good here? So now you know the coffee is not good. And maybe, since we're members of a democratically led organization, we can figure out what the problem is and fix that. We've been working on that one a long time. What is so elusive about really good coffee? Anyway, so you now have some information, which they were very happy to volunteer. You could say, hey, it's 15 minutes till the service. Do you know there's a Pete's across the street? Let's go run and get some, right? And then you're not only having a conversation, you're on a road trip together, okay? But, right, people love to give advice, big and small. So if you want it, then ask for it. This woman who was riding on the plane with me was going to Denver. I had to stop in Denver. So I asked her some things about Denver. Oh, have you lived there a long time? So tell me some things to do next time I'm in Denver. People love that. And I really wanted to know. Finally, this is really finally, know your science. Again, remember what Epley learned. Blank stares are rare. We fear awkwardness much more than it actually happens. People respond to depth. And just to know that is the biggest how to having these conversations. Now, I said that this prescription does not have unwanted side effects, and it lessens in depression and anxiety and loneliness and angry exchanges. But I left out one warning that I do have to give you. If you prescribe yourself conversations with strangers, you may get addicted. Let us now pick up on this generosity, this burst of generosity we've had in the congregation the end of this week. People respond with such generosity when somebody like Kay and Byron say, hey, I will match your giving if you can give it. And when the leadership of the congregation, when Mayo writes and says, hey, we are not making our budget, and there's nothing we want to cut. We respond because we know how much we value this community. We know that, in the words of our relational covenant, we are responsible for making our community all that we want it to be. There's nobody else who makes it happen. We decide what we want, and then we fund it. And likewise, we have lots of dreams for the wider community. And each of us individually and this congregation as a whole has a dream that no one remain homeless, that everyone have what they need to thrive in this community. And we've worked toward that for a long time. So it's wonderful to have a partner like United Effort. So let us assert, as we do with our offering once a month, that we are interdependent with these other wonderful organizations that try to build the community we dream about. Let us recognize that we can make it happen and enjoy the privilege that our gift will go to United Effort because we chose them as our justice partner. You can use cash or check. You can use the QR code or the text information in the order of service. Please give generously to our partner. Thank you. Now let's sing together. We Would Be One, which is number 318 in the gray hymnal. If you care to look at the music, the words are provided here. Please rise in body or spirit. In the words of William F. Schultz, this is the mission of our faith: to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we hold the whole world in our hands.
Sunshine warm upon your face.
Hey, there we go. Before our benediction, I want to let you know to come to the annual meeting, whether you're electronic or online, you're going to want to leave this room. In the case of the electronic, there is a Zoom meeting that got sent out to the whole congregation. If you can't find that email jeff@uucpa.org, and he'll give you the meeting to come into before 12. If you're here, please go on out to the patio, have lunch, and go around the front to check in, because that's what you need to do to get your ballot. Now, if you have some time for conversation, please see if you can talk to somebody you haven't met before or haven't talked to in a long time. If you're online, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and everybody here, if you're comfortable rising and taking hands, let's say our benediction together. Go.